If Dungeons & Dragons is free to play, then why do so many players feel like they're being priced out of their own hobby? Part of the answer lies with a new, sad quote from the CEO of Hasbro, which owns D&D, but the question of affordability starts with this, a surprisingly out-of-touch poll from the official D&D YouTube account, asking, do you plan on attending any conventions this summer? Yes, no, yes, see you at Gen Con. Read the room, dude. Like, this surprised me for a few reasons. One, this account is usually very tuned in with topical memes and polls, so by comparison, this post seemed oblivious. Because, two, it's always been true that most players just do not go to conventions for a variety of reasons. Therefore, these results were bound to be negative, but three, right now, most people are struggling to pay their rent or their student loans or car loan or all of it. Why are you asking if they're gonna book a vacation to Indianapolis where the main event is buying stuff? Okay, and gaming, obviously gaming. So of course, from over 70,000 votes, it got an overwhelming 88% no, not going to any conventions this summer. And sure, there are a variety of reasons most people don't go, but my gosh, the comments made the number one reason very clear. In this economy, over 500 likes. Can't afford to. 600 likes. Don't have the money, the time off, nor the tolerance for crowds. To those who are going, enjoy. And this one is notable. Used to, haven't been able to afford to for several years now. And the top voted comment with some flair, say it with me, I'm poor, music emoji, now a guitar riff and explosion. This goes on for hundreds of comments. And it makes sense. Simply put, game conventions are a niche travel experience. It may not feel luxurious, cramming through crowded vendor halls or gaming with strangers, but it is a luxury expense. And like every luxury, it is only worth it depending on what you value and how much you can prioritize, saving money for your hobbies versus survival. We'll dig into that later when I reveal my actual expenses on this hobby when I started out playing versus today, when I get to attend a few conventions per year thanks to this YouTube channel. But on another side of affordability, I want to jump to this recent quote about D&D from Hasbro CEO Chris Cox. I could say we're a toy company, and I think people would broadly understand that, but I think we're much more than a toy company. I think we're a collectible company. I think we're a games company. I think increasingly we're going to become a digital company. Books will always be an important part of D&D. What an ominous preface for anyone who likes books. And it does get worse for book lovers. He says, books will always be kind of like a special totem that you can collect. I have a big bookshelf of D&D books myself, but we see what's happening. Whoa, what's happening to my books? Almost everyone who plays D&D uses D&D Beyond, like a super high percentage uses it. Okay, one more interruption, because that hand-wavy data, a super high percentage, is my favorite part of the quote. Almost certainly false, but he's talking about users on D&D Beyond, the proprietary digital marketplace and library for Dungeons & Dragons, where anyone can pay for access to digital books and subscribe for extra perks, but you can't download those books to own your purchases off the platform. Last part of the quote. And so, it just makes sense that you should start to migrate your thinking about the... Okay, and the emphasis is mine too, but the quote is real. You should start to migrate your thinking about the way you play to more of a live service, where you don't have to wait 18 months for us to build a book. We can start to release components or aspects of that book over time, and you don't have to buy everything all at once. That said, we will still have big moments. We will still have like, hey, ta-da, here's a huge campaign. In other words, you get piecemeal digital books on a payment plan, and you like it. Paying rent for D&D, except the occasional collectible totem of a book. To me, this sounds like rage bait, and that's how a lot of people took it.
That's right, Dungeons & Dragons is moving to a pay monthly model, digital first, live service, microtransaction based.
But we have to take this with a huge grain of salt. For one, if you've seen any of my other videos quoting Chris Cox, he's said a lot of things like this, especially regarding AI, and so far, almost none of it has come to fruition. Like, I'm still cautiously curious about this proposed D&D Beyond rules assistant that many people assume will be an AI bot, and was supposed to be done last year, then early this year, still no sign of it. Or all this talk could be CEO, jazz hands, hype man, because that's how business works, right? Chris Cox has to say stuff like this, right? But on the other hand, the less jazzy hand, I tend to believe people when they say what they want, and after hearing so many of his quotes about wanting to digitize D&D, I believe that is what he really values for the hobby. So hold on. On the other hand, is Chris Cox right? Based on the comments about conventions becoming increasingly unaffordable for the average player, is there a point when physical books, currently around $60 a piece, become an unaffordable expense for the average player? We're already seeing this in video games, where a price around $50 or $60 has been stable for like a decade. That's D&D's situation too, but video games like GTA 6 just finally announced a pre-order like a week or two ago, and I think it's $80? I could easily see a larger fantasy role-playing book filled with cool art costing $80. That's probably what it should cost. Not to make too many connections to D&D and video games, which I'm sure is also what Chris Cox is thinking. But like video games, is there a point when physical books, currently around $60 a piece, become unaffordable for the average player unless they can subscribe to the book and rent it out a few bucks at a time? A short answer, nobody knows yet. But to shed some light on this question, and for transparency's sake, I want to tell the short version of my frugal D&D story, from spending only $13 on this hobby for the first 2 years. I know I'm saying that in a silly way, but it's true. 2 years, only $13, even though I was immediately obsessed, to then breaking down the exact costs from my convention trips last year. Because there is a massive spectrum of spending on this hobby, and we all have different priorities when it comes to fun and budgeting. So first, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What have you purchased that actually added to your fun with tabletop games, while I tell you about one possible game changer? Today's sponsor, HitPlay Pulse, a new app for immersive music and sound effects in your RPG sessions, literally at your fingertips. With just a tap, change a song's intensity as combat breaks out, and tap a sound effect when you cast a spell or land an attack or miss to instantly step up your description. HitPlay Pulse was made by human composers and filmmakers who love tabletop games, and while they said it's built for game masters, I think players would have even more fun with all the sound effects. Free to download with plenty of content to start a campaign, then users can purchase themed collections of new music or effects, and all music tracks can be downloaded off the app so you own them. At the same time, there will be a subscription model for users who want access to everything at once, but your subscription payments actually work toward purchases. If you like the sound of that, pun intended, use my link below to stay in the loop about their upcoming Kickstarter and get discounts when it launches, or for $1, become a HitPlay Pulse MVP today to get exclusive tracks and more. So here is my own case study on the affordability of D&D. 2015, the year of my first Dungeons & Dragons campaign, I spent exactly $0.00. I know this because I remember my first purchase wasn't until the following year, but also because 2015 was the year I started diligently tracking all my finances in a spreadsheet, which will come in handy for the rest of this. And for a little context, I was a 22-year-old college student scrounging every penny while working for my university and for the city arborist. It's actually where I got this hat I often wear in my videos outside. So part of the reason I was immediately obsessed with D&D was because I didn't have to spend money on it. A fun social activity that only cost me a pencil and paper? Incredible! Now, it should be stated, my DM already had the rulebook. But regular viewers have heard me say countless times, we didn't really use the rules. It was extremely homebrewed, and of course, we could have downloaded the free Basic Rules PDF online had we known or cared about that. Last important point for year one that might blow your mind, my DM also owned a single set of polyhedral dice that we all share. We were noobs, so like any other tabletop game we'd ever played, it felt completely normal for all of us to share the one set of dice for the game. I know today we've all been brainwashed into believing that every player needs one or more sets of their own cool dice, but you don't. Even this most basic and normalized hobby expense is a luxury. Cue comments from the old school guys who didn't even have one set of dice and instead pulled paper chits out of a tin can. Speeding up, 2016 year 2, July 17th, according to my spreadsheet, I walked into my local game store and made my first RPG purchase. This most basic and boring and cheapest set of dice available, plus this giant D20 that I didn't even know was a countdown die, for a total of $13.00 in cash. The fact is, it was extremely easy to not spend money on the game because we played theater of mind style and we made our own rules. For example, that year I ran a couple improvised sessions of Wild West scenarios and a short fantasy campaign where our homebrew player classes were Vampire Knight, Hunter, and Keeper. Whatever that means. But then, 2017, year 3, only my second RPG purchase, a Christmas gift for then GF, now wife, Grace World Destroyer, the D&D 5e Player's Handbook, $29.97. Relax, I also got her some comics, volume 6 and 7 of Saga for like $20. And if not for Grace wanting the PHB, like this channel wouldn't exist or would be completely different. Because earlier in 2017, I went from homebrew to game design. I wrote my own Rules Light RPG, sort of based on the free D&D rules, which I had recently discovered on Roll20, but 1000%, I was deep in this hobby. You can't tell me different. All I did with my free time was write about elves and monsters and watch Matt Colville videos. But I spent like no money on it because we made our own fun. However, this is where conventions almost came into play. 2017 was also the first year of PAX Unplugged in nearby Philly, with a one-day badge costing only $25. I just didn't know about it. Fast forward to 2018, I spent a total of $48 at my friendly local game store on a D&D fold-out grid and a DM screen for Grace. But by this time, we both had full-time jobs, sharing an apartment, so $50 to spend on a game? We were living large. In 2019, I spent $20 at the game store, but everything changed on Sunday, March 24th, when I spent $103.99 at Best Buy for a Blue Yeti microphone to start this YouTube channel. And maybe more importantly, on June 22nd, I drove to like 3 different Targets to find the D&D Essentials Kit for $24.99 because my videos about that box set were how my channel first picked up some steam. Unfortunately, that's also when my financial spending on the hobby becomes unapplicable to the average player, as RPGs gradually started to become my job. And yeah, one of the reasons I started the channel was the pipe dream notion that maybe someday I could earn enough money from it and from my own publications to afford new RPG books and dice. Obviously, I got extremely lucky. It did take several years of all my free time to get here, but lots of people work that hard and YouTube doesn't care. So if you take anything away from this video, especially as we break down the convention expenses and the convention freebies, do not let the lesson be, start a D&D YouTube channel. The lesson is that from 2015 to 2019, my first 5 full years in the hobby, RPGs were my entire life outside of work, but I only spent an average of $27 per year on it. Blissfully ignorant of the RPG fandom and all the luxury expenses that go along with it, and I was happy. Now, according to an inflation calculator, $27 in 2017 is about $37 in 2026. And I'm not saying you should be able to afford $37 per year to be in this hobby. That's not going to work for everyone either. I'm saying that tabletop games have always let us make our own fun for free. That is still true today, and it will never, ever change, no matter what becomes of official D&D or D&D Beyond or anything that happens outside your gaming table, period. 2 quick things before we move on to my convention expenses. 1, Every RPG, not just D&D, offers a free version. So to highlight one of my favorite fantasy games, Shadowdark gives you the PDFs of this player guide and GM guide with an adventure and pre-made characters all for free. Link below. And two, speaking directly to the economic frustrations for a moment, the feeling is completely valid. Some people are spending luxuriously right now thanks to their investments or home value skyrocketing over the last few years or more, but most people are not, yet we see that luxury on social media, not unlike how I'm about to talk about these conventions. So I just want to be extra clear that I'm not boasting here. I'm giving honest financial snapshots from a range of conventions to help you decide which kind, if any, might be worth saving for. Okay, so from least to most expensive, here's the breakdown of my convention trips from last year. Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, $344.48. That's $158.40 for one Thursday night at a nearby hotel. Then a weird one. $119 was technically the deductible business expense for my mileage, but realistically the cost of gas alone was probably about $25, and that was 2 trips because I drove back and forth, hence only the one night at a hotel. And wow, seeing this audit again, I could have saved a lot in direct costs by just skipping that night and driving every day. Sheesh. $42.75 for meals, which is also a little lower because I got a free dinner and lunch. Then $0 for badges as a guest in exchange for running sessions, speaking on a few panels, and sitting in the signing booth for an hour. Not a bad trade. Plus $24.33 for merch. I bought a cool dice tray. So if I were not a guest, my frugal self would probably still go, but just drive out for Sunday, spending $60 on that badge apparently, about $10 on gas. I would just pack a lunch from home and assume the same $25 for merch spending, and the total trip would be $95. Still a lot more than past frugal me would want to spend on this hobby in a year, but if I were someone who prioritizes conventions as a valuable part of my hobby experience, I want to say that the cost of 2 RPG books is pretty reasonable, especially considering about a quarter of that cost was merch itself. But remember, I live only an hour drive from this convention. That is a built-in freebie. That is a lucky position to be in as a convention goer. Next, the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, $489.52. This con covers our hotel, so $0 for lodging. The mileage deduction is also huge here, $378. But again, the actual fuel cost would have been like $75 from this 540-mile round trip. And seeing $45.46 just for tolls makes me feel like an idiot. Yes, it turned our 5+ hour drive into only 4 hours each way, but I don't know if that's worth it. $66.06 for meals, which is still low because Grace and I get free lunches here, and $0 for badges, also in exchange for running games, panels, and signing booth. Finally, $0 for business expendable merch last year, but I did buy the official Nintendo player guide for the original Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And this is where I'm really conflicted questioning the affordability, because even if I wasn't a guest, having been to PGX, I would really want to go back to PGX. It really extends beyond my love for tabletop RPGs into my other hobbies too. But to make the $75 in gas and 10-hour toll-free drive worth it, I'd want to stay at a hotel at least one night. That's about $150, plus maybe $50 for 2 days of food. I could just bring some snacks. About $90 for 2 days of badges, and $50 more to buy some cool old video game stuff. That would be $415 total. Maybe I'd move to Pittsburgh. Nah, but Grace would probably go too, so technically we'd be splitting all the travel and lodging, and maybe we consider volunteering to get free badges, but I'm not sure if PGX offers that. Now, a side note, our most expensive convention ever was in 2024, not last year, and it was Gen Con, the one that the D&D YouTube channel seemed to think tons of viewers would be attending this year. It was a luxurious $3,000 for Grace and I. No freebies, and I'm incredibly grateful that I got to experience it, especially in 2024 for the D&D 50th anniversary and Shadowdark winning all the RPG awards. But I don't think we're going back. Gen Con is so crowded that they use a lottery system where you have to book your hotel during a specific time slot, plus the flights, plus the hotel. It's just too much, even as a business expense. And a lot of people get this wrong. Business expense does not equal free. You pay the full cost and then pay slightly less on your taxes. Anyway, our most expensive con last year was nearby PAX Unplugged. $1287.55. Here's the breakdown on screen. Basically, the hotels are expensive. Parking is nuts. The food is fantastic but costly, and yeah, we went a little crazy buying zines that year. And now on the opposite side of things, I don't want to make people feel guilty if they love doing this trip. That's what you value. That's awesome. That's your favorite part of the hobby. I just have always had scarcity mindset brain when it comes to money. So I think the best way to sum up how I really feel about conventions is with another comment from that poll. Can't afford it, I buy D&D books. And that is just my opinion, but if I had to choose, I'd save my money for the special totems we call physical books that you can hold or lend to a friend or give away or do whatever you want with because you own it. It is super cliche. I feel silly saying it. Like the best things in life are free. But I'm serious. My favorite parts of this hobby, the parts where I receive the most value and have the most fun, even more than owning physical books, have always been rolling my cheapskate dice with my friends and just filling my free time writing about elves and monsters and watching Matt Colville videos on YouTube. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're certain you can afford it, consider joining my Patreon or YouTube members who always get recap videos of my con experiences and without whom I would not be able to do any of this stuff. Thank you, and keep building.